So let's talk about water. I would actually like to begin with a video that depicts a beautiful vision of the future of how we can care for the planet and develop a harmonious relationship with the natural world. This video is actually an advertisement for Chobani yogurt, which, as Naranjana pointed out to me, is not actually a worker-owned cooperative. But this video depicts many details that align with Prout solutions to the problems we face. Please pay attention and write down any details you notice in the animation and the text. And I will put translations of the text into the chat, or Mahima will do that, so that everyone can understand. So let's watch the video here.
Can you wait to play the video? It's not
Yes.
letting you copy and paste it right away. So I just want everyone to have the opportunity to understand it.
Yes, totally. We can wait. Awesome. Thank you.
Just one moment. I need to copy and paste them individually because it's too much.
Okay. Okay, got it. Makes sense. How is the pauses? How are the pauses for translation? Okay, okay, great.
Okay, all languages are in the chat.
Perfect.
Dear Alice, this place is yours now. It's a handful, but nothing worth doing is easy. The land is more than just dirt. If you look after it, it will feed you forever. You're a smart one. I know you'll be okay come rain or shine. And remember, a business is only as good as its people, so treat them well. Our job is to plant seeds so our grandkids get to enjoy the fruit. So, eat well, Alice, and keep planting those seeds. Because how we eat today feeds tomorrow.
Okay. Let me restart my share. Actually, we're going to move into just a short breakout room now. So let me share my screen, which has the questions. There we go. So we'll just have about 10 minutes, and in your breakout room, you can introduce yourself, your name, your country, and one word or phrase to describe how you're feeling. What details did you notice about this imagined future? Do you think building a future like this is possible? And what inspires or intrigues you about this video? So Mahima, are you all set to begin the breakout rooms?
Not yet, but also I just want to remind people, if you don't already have your language in front of your name, I can't put you in a breakout room that is language specific. So if anyone needs to be in a room with a specific language in it, please make sure to add that identifying language now.
You know what I'm thinking, since we are running a little bit behind schedule, we will include this part of the discussion as long as everyone noted down their reactions to the video. We will include this part of the discussion in the final breakout room. Does that sound okay to people? That gives Mahima a little bit more time to make the breakout rooms. Okay, all right, then let's continue. So this is a beautiful vision for the future, but what is our reality now? Climate change is a major threat to human life in today's world and is very much connected to drinking water shortages. In this image, we see the rivers that are sourced from the Tibetan Plateau, the largest and highest area in the world today. All these major rivers supply water to millions of people in India, China, and much of Asia, and source their water from ice runoff on the plateau when temperatures rise in the summers. Usually, with stable seasons and regular temperatures, ice holds water supply and distributes that water very intelligently. But because of rising temperatures due to climate change, the ice on the plateau is decreasing in size, and therefore the longevity of these rivers as a reliable source of clean water is in danger. This is one important example of how rising temperatures due to carbon emissions and other factors will continue to have a massive impact on water supply. I highlight this in order to emphasize how important it is that we begin to act and adapt with new solutions for securing access to water. So, connected to climate change, what are the other factors that contribute to water shortages? So the first and a very big factor is deforestation. Some of the primary causes of deforestation include the global fast food industry, the fact that people in poor countries need to cut down trees to use as the wood for fuel. The third cause is mining interests. Gold, silver, cobalt for our cell phones are mined. Lead and lithium for electronic vehicles. So deforestation is a huge, huge problem. The second factor is overconsumption of water, especially by large-scale agriculture and the meat industry. Large-scale agriculture and the meat industry are very water consumptive. The cleaning process for cleaning slaughterhouses takes a lot of water, a disproportionate amount of water. And much water is also used to grow food for the animals that are then sold as meat. And that is water that could be used to nourish plants that humans eat directly. Some statistics, some disturbing statistics related to this factor are that 40% of produce from large-scale monoculture agriculture in the US is wasted, 40%. Another example is that in the Murray-Darling Basin in Australia, a whole river system, the whole river system there has been depleted by corporations farming cotton. And then the other part of overconsumption of water has to do with lifestyle. So taking long showers or having lawns that are watered instead of vegetable gardens that could feed us. Having swimming pools like in this slide here. All right, we'll go on to our next factor, which is rapid evaporation. Climate change has brought increased temperatures and increased wind, which separately or together lead to increased evaporation. On hot days, large amounts of water can disappear in a short amount of time. And we saw this happening, we see this happening in the US with the heat wave in the Western states and the drying up of, or the dramatic decrease in the levels of Lake Powell. The next factor is centralization of water storage, large dams that alter and harm the natural landscape. Here we have a picture of the Three Gorges Dam in China and the Hoover Dam in the US. Our next factor is exploitation of subterranean resources. So here we have a picture depicting the fracking process. Fracking, for example, uses vast amounts of water, which must be transported to the site, causing great environmental impacts. Fracking is also thought to release carcinogenic chemicals, and other pollutants can leak into the nearby groundwater that is used for drinking. Fracking also causes instability of subterranean structures, especially when done on a mass scale, potentially leading to earthquakes. Mining, likewise, here's a picture of a mine, has large environmental impacts, almost always involves deforestation, erosion, loss of biodiversity, sinkholes, wastewater disposal, dammed rivers and ponds, acid mine drainage, contamination of soil, ground, and surface water, and landslides. And our last photo on this slide is deep water wells tap into water resources that are critical for the long-term well-being of plants, soil, or other environmental ecosystems. Once these water sources underground are exploited, the area on the surface can become a barren desert. And finally, we have water privatization, and this is very big when it comes to Prout, and / unethical management of water resources. Privatization can lead to the following problems. 1, water rates. The price of water can and will go up. 2, it can undermine the quality of water. 3, local control is reduced and handed over to corporates or corporations. 4, private companies are not accountable to the consumer. 5, the act of privatization can foster corruption. 6, once privatization occurs, it is challenging to reverse. We're seeing that now. 7, the poor have less access to clean water if you have to pay for water because it's been privatized. And 8, it would create the possibility of bulk water exports. Unethical management of water sources can also include cases in which a river passes through more than one municipality or state. Without a strong water authority for the entire catchment, water can be siphoned off for various private interests along the way. And the Murray-Darling Basin that I mentioned is a good example of this. It's now almost dry since it has been siphoned off for the cotton growth process. Here, we see people from all over the world protesting the private corporate ownership of water and the imposition of oil pipelines and fracking sites that contaminate drinking water for communities living all along those sites. There are many efforts led by grassroots organizers and indigenous community activists fighting for access to clean drinking water as a human right, for water sovereignty, and advocating a return to a more harmonious, less destructive human relationship with the natural world. So, how do we get from here to here? Prout has solutions. They are practical, scientific, and systemic. And in the next few slides, I will be reading from the writing or the discourses of P.R. Sarkar, the founder of Prout. Here he writes, in the near future, there will be a severe water crisis in many parts of the world. The only solution is to rely on rainwater. We must collect the rainwater, develop the science of making artificial rain through helium or any other process, and bring the clouds which rain over the ocean onto the land. Constructing more deep tube wells is not the answer. Rather, we must catch the rainwater where it falls. Many ponds, canals, dams, lakes, and reservoirs should be immediately constructed to catch the rainwater and store it for drinking water. This is the only way out of the water crisis that will confront humanity in the very near future. And here he writes more about this. The banks of all water systems should be covered by dense forests. The science behind this is that the roots of the trees retain water. When the water table subsides, the roots of the trees slowly release water. Hence, a pond surrounded by trees will never run dry. The foliage of the trees also minimizes evaporation. Besides this, the leaves of the trees have very small pores which attract clouds, so the trees help to increase rainfall. So since trees attract rain, Prout's primary solution, in addition to developing ways to catch rain where it falls, is to conduct extensive and intensive afforestation, or planting trees, essentially. So this point on the last slide, oh, I guess I can't go. There we go. The leaves of the trees. Science has now demonstrated the roles of leaves to help with rainwater formation. Pores on the leaves of trees, known as stomata, help with photosynthesis and guard from water loss of the plant. When they open up, they release water vapor, which goes into the atmosphere and binds with particles, such as bacteria and dust, and this leads to cloud formation. When enough of these water particles collect as part of the cloud, they enlarge and start to bump into one another, and in that process, rainwater falls back down to earth. Amazing. Here's one more quote. Another cause of environmental destruction is the exploitation of subterranean resources. Deep cavities have been formed in the earth after extracting subterranean resources, and these cavities should be properly filled. As a general rule, surface water should always be utilized in preference to subterranean water. So all of these solutions are emphasizing these 2 points, that we need to figure out ways to collect the rainwater on the surface of the planet. And we need to figure out ways yes, that's one. And the second one is to stop deforestation, because deforestation causes a lack of rain. So we have to plant more trees to create more rain, and then figure out ways to harvest that water so that we can have enough to drink. This photo is of a pond constructed at Anandanagar, a large intentional community in Purulia, West Bengal, India. The funding for the pond was provided by supporters in Argentina, and the water from this pond will supply irrigation for crops to feed local people from the surrounding villages. So besides these practical and fundamental solutions to water shortages, we also need larger systemic planning and policies at all levels of government, local, national, and even international. Here is a quote from a different book, not from Ideal Farming, but from Proudest Economics by P.R. Sarkar. Prout divides the industrial structure into 3 parts: key industries managed by the immediate or local government, cooperatives, and private enterprises. This system will eliminate confusion regarding whether or not a particular industry should be managed privately or by the government, and will avoid duplication between the government and private enterprise. So Sarkar advocates a 3-tiered economic system to manage all our resources, including water. And water is like oil, steel, and transportation, is a key industry. And as such, it is part of the commons. Water resources belong to all of us. Water can never be privatized because that can create disparities between people, lead to shortages, and can have a massive impact on human beings all over the planet. One more important policy is the Water Board. Prout advocates a very powerful water authority to manage the entire catchment. In this way, water throughout the catchment is distributed fairly and equitably. Without a strong authority, and a strong ethical authority, we should say, vested interests are able to siphon off water throughout the catchment, and those downstream will not be able to have their fair share. So the boards would ensure that the water needs of those who live and work within the catchment area are safeguarded. So here is our summary of Prout's solutions, and we'll begin with the practical steps. The first is afforestation, planting trees, extensive and intensive. The second is the use of ponds, canals, dams, lakes, and reservoirs to catch rainwater where it falls. The third is use of plants and other supports to mitigate evaporation. The fourth is to develop technologies to create artificial rain. And the fifth, which we can all do easily, is to reduce our water consumption. So examples of this could be switching to and/or promoting a plant-based diet, replacing lawns with vegetable gardens, limiting our water use, shorter showers, washing cars only when needed. And our systemic steps according to Prout. The first is decentralization of water storage and management. Second is promotion of a 3-tiered economy in which water, a key industry, is managed by ethical government and local people decide how best to use their water resources. And the third is the development of powerful water authorities, boards, which can safeguard each and every water catchment area and can prevent unnecessary competition for water resources. So we are now ready for our breakout room. And I believe I'm not so clear on how much time we have, but I think we can probably spend a little bit more than 20 minutes. And Mahima has these questions already translated to put into the chat. But I will read them now just so we can prepare together before going into the breakout room. So in your group, you can decide how many of these to answer together. You can feel which are most interesting to you and which are the juiciest. So the first question is, the water crisis we face as a result of the points discussed is creating a global scarcity of drinking water. How should the remaining water resources be managed? Number 2, is there a particular water-related issue in your country or home area? If you're not sure, you can take a few minutes to do some research. And how does the information presented in this talk impact your understanding of that issue and the potential solutions for it? And the third and final question, how do Prout's principles of ethical leadership and universal family outlook impact how we face the global water crisis together? So, Mahima, are you set to create breakout rooms?
Yep,
Awesome.
the rooms are
Oh.
now open.
Awesome. So thank you all very much, and I will see you when we come back in about 25 minutes. Namaskar.